happy crocheters, this is Lindsay at windingroadcrochet.com, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet a gourd. If you like this tutorial, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. This is the gourd I'm going to be showing you, also known as a winter squash. It's really cute with all your other fall decorations like your pumpkins. If you want to know how to make a pumpkin, I have a video tutorial showing 3 different size pumpkins that you can make just like this one. But today I'm going to show you how to make this gourd. We are going to be making the larger size gourd. If you check out the written pattern, there is a pattern for the tiny gourd as well. For this gourd, we don't need very much. You're going to need some worsted weight yarn. I am using a color called corn silk with red heart with love. But Red Heart Super Saver or any worsted weight size 4 yarn will work just fine. I am using ochre brown, also with the With Love yarn. We're going to need scissors, a yarn needle, and a size H 5mm crochet hook. Let's go ahead and get started with our winter squash. You're going to make sure you leave a decent size yarn end, about 12 inches or so. Make a slip knot. Insert it on your hook and begin chaining. We are going to chain 26 chains. Once you've completed your 26 chains, we are going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. And then we'll single crochet in the next 2 chains for a total of 3 single crochet. Now we are going to work half double crochets in the next 11 chain. So your half double crochet, you yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, and pull through the loops on your hook. After your 11 half double crochets, then we are going to work 11 single crochets. By alternating the size of our stitches, we're creating a large section of the gourd and then a smaller section. So just work 11 single crochets. At the end of row 1, we are simply going to chain 1 and turn. We're going to have 2 repeat rows, row 2 and row 3. For row 2, you are going to single crochet into the first 10 stitches, followed by 11 half double crochet and 4 more single crochet. So we start with a chain 1 and turn and work a single crochet into the first 10 stitches. Once 10 single crochet are worked, we're going to follow that by 11 half double crochets. After your half double crochets, you'll work 4 single crochets, and that will get you to the end of the row. Now you can see how we're making that wider section in the middle. We're just going to turn and do row 3. Chain 1 and turn. For row 3, we are going to work 3 single crochets in the first 3 stitches. Then we're going to follow that by 11 half double crochets. And then once we have our half double crochets worked, we will finish up with 11 single crochets. For this pattern, all you need to do is repeat rows 2 and 3 until you have a total of 28 rows. Feel free to go back in the video to see how to do those rows again. So here you can see I have my 28 rows completed, and I went ahead and fastened off, leaving a very long yarn end. I'd wager about 24 inches or so. And now we are going to use these 2 long yarn ends to gather up and sew up our flat piece into a winter squash. So first we're going to take our yarn end and thread it onto a yarn needle. Once we get our needle threaded, we're going to use this yarn end to create a gathering stitch along the bottom edge of our crocheted piece. To do this, you're just going to pick up a yarn thread about every other row. I tend to find that there is a horizontal yarn thread at the end of each row that's really easy to pick up, but you can do this however you would like. Just work in sections and then pull your yarn all the way through until you get all the way to the end of that side of the row. And then you just pull your yarn tight to create a gather at the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is make 2 little stitches to hold that gather in place, because we're going to continue using this yarn to sew up the rest of our project. If you need to make a few stitches to close up the very bottom of your gourd, that is fine as well. Now, still using the same yarn end that we have, I am going to whip stitch up the side of our gourd. The goal here is to have as few yarn ends as necessary. So I'm just going to whip stitch up the side of our piece. When you reach the top, so we whip stitched all the way up the top, I'm just going to leave my yarn on one side, and then you'll notice that we have our other yarn end here. We are going to knot these 2 yarn ends together because we will use this same yarn to create another gathering stitch, and we don't want to gather up this side seam. So we're going to knot this real quick, and then we're going to go make a stem for our gourd. So let's go do that real fast. So grabbing some brown yarn, we are going to really quickly chain 5. So make a slip knot and chain 5, preferably keeping your yarn on your hook. So once you've chained 5, I'm going to work in the back bumps, but work into the chain however you like. But we are going to single crochet into the second chain from the hook and each chain down. So you'll have a total of 4 single crochet. This is going to create a really tiny little stem, but it does add a cute little extra detail to our gourd. And don't worry about weaving in your ends. We won't need to. So once you have your 4 single crochet worked, you're just going to fasten off and pull that last yarn end through the last loop on our hook. Now let's go back to finishing up our gourd. So here we are back with our gourd. We're still using the same yarn end, and we are just going to stuff this really fast. You want to stuff it pretty full in the bottom of the gourd, but try not to overstuff the top half of the gourd. You really want to see a drastic change between the bottom thickness and the top thickness of the gourd. But if you overstuff it, that becomes more of a slant versus a harsh change in size, and it kind of makes it look a little bit more like a pear. So if you're wanting to make a really large pear, feel free to overstuff it, but otherwise try to stuff it a little bit lighter on the top half of the gourd. Once you have it stuffed the way you like it, go ahead and grab your yarn end and your needle, and we will go ahead and finish up. All we need to do is run another gathering stitch along the top of our gourd or squash. So around and around we will go across the top of the squash until you get right back to the beginning. But do not pull it tight yet, because we are going to insert our stem into the top of the squash first. So we're going to take the stem and its yarn in, tuck the yarn in all the way in the squash so there's no ends to weave in, and then pull your squash nice and tight. You just want to trap that in there. Once it's completely tight, once again, you are going to knot that with your other yarn end. Once knotted, take your needle once more and make just a few stitches so you can trap that stem to your gourd. You just don't want it accidentally falling out. And then once your stitches are made, we'll knot it with that other yarn end once again to secure it. At this point, we just have one more thing to do, and that is to hide our yarn ends. So take your needle, push it from the top out the side of your gourd, pull it a little tight, and then clip the yarn end. Reshape your gourd, and we're going to repeat the process with the other yarn end. So there's actually no weaving in your ends, we're just hiding our ends on the inside of the winter squash. The squash looks really cute, bunched up with a whole bunch of pumpkins of different colors. You can of course make this squash in 2 different sizes, or you can use a thicker yarn and make more sizes using the same pattern. So just shape out your squash and you are completely done. I hope you enjoyed the video tutorial, and you will check out some of my other fall decoration video tutorials. I've made quite a few of them this year. Until next time, thank you so much for watching.